Welcome to the DIA Global Annual Meeting Virtual Edition Pharma Voice Editors Take video series. In this episode, Taryn Grohm, Editor-in-Chief of Pharma Voice magazine, meets with Greg Simpson, Vice President and Head of Marketing, Saama Technologies.
Greg, welcome to the Editors Take video program and our virtual program right from your office.
Well, thank you, Taryn. I'm happy to be here.
What are some successful examples of the incorporation of remote monitoring to improve a clinical trial and accelerate outcomes?
Two examples come to mind. The first would be a large biotech that was able to use technology to quickly stand up and remotely monitor study performance metrics, patient safety, and treatment efficacy for a COVID-19 study. And the second is a large CRO partner that has seen incremental gains in productivity and time savings, and as a result of statistical data checks and automated alerts that reduce the need for in-person site visits and other manual work. So in the first example, a sponsor had to remotely monitor every component of its study, not just one or two things, like making sure that the adverse event reports from different sites were consistent. In two ways, we were able to help the ClinOps team was first shifting the focus and resources from different therapeutic areas to quickly ramp up for their COVID-19 response. And we gave them context on what that shift would mean for their other studies in the long term. Monitoring and reporting standardized performance and safety metrics at a number of quickly onboarded sites was able to help them run their study better. In the second example, we built out a large CRO's pre-COVID-19 remote monitoring infrastructure. Some components of the remote monitoring solution included regularly refreshed data from multiple sources such as EDC, PV and clinical safety systems, and CTMS, configurable key risk indicators with normalized metrics, automated alerts associated with threshold breaches, issue tracking and workflow, role-based visual insights. And after developing a detailed process map for remote monitoring that included scope requirements, the training of clinical staff on remote specific procedures and responsibilities, the CRO partnered with us. And working together, we helped them conduct a program using our life sciences analytics cloud across two studies. A dedicated project team worked collaboratively with our team to aggregate data from the CRO's CTMS, as well as the EDC system and lab questionnaires owned by the sponsor. The program ran in parallel with existing monitoring procedures to ensure that the active studies weren't exposed to additional risk. And after the initial program ended, 5 more studies were brought on board, and plans are in the works for a general rollout. And the key benefits there are the CRO won new business and gained a competitive advantage, a more effective and replicable remote monitoring process was created, manual work was significantly reduced, and issues are identified and resolved faster.
Excellent. Those are two great examples. Now, let's talk about why would trial teams continue to monitor patients and studies remotely, even when in-person monitoring is possible?
Yeah, there are a few reasons I can think of. One is source data review and verification is faster if you have software and processes in place that enable data review to be conducted remotely. High amounts of in-person SDV or SDR may have worked in the past and they might work in the future, but they're just not as efficient as a remote review. The second would be faster training for trial teams and site staff. Honing remote monitoring guidelines now can help shorten site and study startup times in the future. And everyone in the same system helps with change management. It might be tough for sponsors and multiple CROs to work in the same system at first, and they will probably be tempted to go back to business as usual once the pandemic is over. But data security and data entry practices can be managed much more effectively if the relevant parties are using common technology.
Again, some excellent points as we move to what is going to be considered the next new normal, if there's such a thing.
Right.
So when we talk about that, what should sponsors consider when looking for a remote monitoring program?
I would say two things. One, a platform that offers analytics across teams and at different levels. So what we don't want to see is people repeating the mistake of giving everyone their own software and putting them in silos and thinking that it'll be different because it's digital, right? So there are silos that exist today, and technology can break those down. We don't want to just automate things the way they are today, but improve them. And on top of this, role-based permissions help. And the second is the systems that enhance but don't overload remote communication avenues. For example, automated alerts can be tailored to trigger at certain KPIs and KRI thresholds by emailing study management of safety teams. To prevent email overload, those alerts can be tweaked to only appear to specific team members. And we also have the capability to build in task management systems that let users tie the requests and queries to live dashboards and analytics. So trial teams have a lot more context on rather than just a long email or some old spreadsheet.
And these are great examples of not falling back into past habits of siloing and taking a more holistic approach, I think, when we look at technology moving forward. So thank you so much for being part of our Editor's Take virtual program.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Stay well.
For more information about Saama Technologies, visit www.saama.com.